Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Calls Friday Night Chill stream. We're going to be looking into round 3 showdown for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. A couple of things to start off. I've got the music a little bit louder than normal. If that is a distraction or if you have trouble hearing me, let me know. I will turn it down. But I have it a little bit louder as I believe one of my appliances is going out. So if you hear any loud buzzing in the background, that is one of the appliances, and it's the reason for a little bit louder music this evening. So again, jump in chat and let me know if you hear the loud buzzing or if the music is distracting, and I will turn it down or try to talk louder or some combination thereof. But we are here to try and find the optimal lineup for round 3 showdown for the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. So I've brought up a couple of different things over here. As you can see, I've brought up Fantasy National here on the right. What I've been scrolling, I've been gathering those stats, if you will. I'm going to actually go to the course breakdown tab in Fantasy National. But over here on the left, you see the wind finder forecast for tomorrow and Sunday, but tomorrow is what we're focused on. And I'll reload the page and you can see just how drastic the wind is going to be tomorrow. Pardon me as I get all of my chat settings and everything up and going the way I want them. But let me welcome you. Hope you had a very good week. If you did not, apologies, but we are here now to try and make the weekend a lot better with some optimal lineups to increase your monetary amount, I guess is the best way to put that. There's a cheeky saying in here somewhere, but thanks for joining me on a Friday evening. Looking forward to it. So as we begin the evening, I want you to notice just how much wind there is in the forecast for tomorrow. The first tee time is 7:30 in the morning out at Pebble Beach. 7:30 across all 3 courses, to be exact. So right from the start, they are going to be dealing with wind. But as you can see, the sustained amounts of wind gradually increase throughout the day. And by the time you are teeing off as late as maybe 9:30, I believe is the latest tee time, maybe 9:45, you got to figure with amateurs playing, it could be as much as a 5.5 hour round. You know, you could get into these 40-mile-an-hour gusts late into the day. And I don't want to deal with any of that. So I'm going to start the show off with in a vacuum. Everything else being equal, if 2 players are completely tied in your mind, I am going to advocate that you use the earliest tee time possible, just due to the amount of wind that is expected in the forecast for tomorrow at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and this is across all 3, Pebble Beach, Spyglass Hill, and Monterey. So with that, I will keep that up. There is not going to be a lot that we can do in terms of course kind of comparison from this year to the norm. As you can see with the amateurs, and we experienced this with the Amex, with the amateurs, they are, you know, included in these other categories. And it's going to make it very, very difficult to calculate the average of what each hole has been playing. So, for example, Spyglass Hill has been extremely difficult this year so far. And I'm hoping it will, maybe I might need to reload here. But Spyglass Hill has been extremely difficult, and I imagine it's still going to have nowhere near. Boy, it's just not one to do anything, is it? Pebble Beach, Monterey. Yeah, you see these averages, they're not changing, but the factors here are. So, again, it's just not a lot that we can do in terms of comparison with ESPN. And with the player stats, I have not had a chance to take a look and see if these Eagles are indeed on par 3s, par 4s, or whatnot. What I can tell you, only because I saw it today, is Kevin Tway. Where is Kevin Tway? He might be -1 or so. Anyway, when we start talking about specific players, there he is. Kevin Tway here. It says he doesn't have any Eagles. Well, he doesn't because he has an albatross. He holed out from the fairway on a par 5. So his scoring is going to be quite exaggerated. But I haven't had a chance to go and look and see which Eagles are on par 3s, or on par 4s, or aces on par 3s. In fact, actually, I do know Justin Rose, I believe, had a hole-in-one on one of the par 3s. It's not showing that. So, it is what it is. We'll do the best we can, but not a lot that we can do in terms of course stats versus their norms. So with that, I am going to minimize the wind finder, but I'll keep it up just to have it at the ready. But I am going to maximize this page view so it's easier to see. And we're going to start at Monterey, and we're just going to work our way alphabetical. But historically speaking, Monterey has been the easiest course. That has been the case so far this week for the tournament. Monterey has been the easiest course by far. So generally speaking, if we're looking at a showdown, since hole looks like 16, let's see, 10's a par 5, 12 I know is a par 5, I think 16's a par 4, because this is a par 71. Great. Now I'm just going to have to go to the GCSA tournament fact sheet and figure it out. Hey, look, the Phoenix Open tournament fact sheet's out. So that's what I'll be doing a lot of tomorrow. Let's see. Pebble Beach 72, Spyglass 72. Okay, so yeah, Monterey's the 71. Monterey is the 71. So this 18th hole is a par 4, and the 16th is a par 4. So historically, if we're looking at around the turn, the 17th has played over par, the 8th has played over par, the 1st has played over par, so that does not give a very good indication for players that are teeing off on the back 9. Whereas 8 and 9 have also, 8, 9, and 10, generally speaking, 8 and 9 have always played tough as well. So there does not appear to be a specific split in terms of a favor for Monterey, because neither side is getting an advantage here. So 8 and 9 have traditionally played over par, so there isn't a good birdie streak on the turn, and there isn't a good birdie streak on, say, 17, 18, 1 and 2, as 18 is historically played pretty tough since it's a par 4. 17 is over par, and 1 is the most difficult hole on the course. So no particular favor for Monterey. Joey, what's up? Thanks for joining on a Friday evening. Hope your week has went well and you're ready to relax and wind down for a good weekend. I know we have been in a little bit of communication. It seems like your DFS lineup for week long might be struggling. So hopefully we can make up for that with a solid round 3 showdown lineup. So if you haven't seen, or if you just joined, there's the wind for tomorrow. It is atrocious. It's just bad. I mean, 40-mile-an-hour gusts late into the day. So there's a look at Monterey. And again, no, I don't see any particular favor in terms of guys that are teeing off on hole 1 versus hole 10. So Monterey has just played pretty darn easy this week, particularly because of the par 5s. The par 5 16th, or excuse me, that's a par 4. So the par 5 12th, a tenth of a shot under par, but the 10th has been very easy, almost a half shot under par, and then 1700ths under par. But Monterey's played pretty darn easy. Let's move to Pebble Beach, see if there is any favor in terms of front 9 versus back 9 there. And we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday evening. 8, 9, and 10 is generally speaking the hardest part of the course. 8, the canyon hole, the Spieth hole. 9, especially with the wind as it is, anything right is going ocean bound, and left is no fun either. 10, again, against the ocean. So 8, 9, and 10. So guys that are teeing off on hole 1 have a pretty bad time with a birdie streak in that regard. Whereas 17 is very difficult. Yes. Plays to 3/10 of a shot over par, but 18 has traditionally been an acceptable hole. 1 can be a birdie hole. It is played over par, but it is not impossible to get a birdie. Now 2 is very easy. This is a misnomer. This is a par 5, and it's one of the easiest holes on the course. So for me, I think for Pebble Beach, I think there's a decent, I don't want to say it's significant, it's a decent advantage for the players who are teeing off on hole 10, as they are getting it through a lot of the toughest part of the course. And when they make the turn, 18 is a par 5 that is birdieable. Not necessarily an eagle, but definitely a birdie over a quarter of the time. 1 is fairly tough, but it can be a birdie hole. It is a short par 4. And then 2 is very, very easy. Again, don't pay attention to this. This is a par 5 at Pebble Beach. So I don't know why Fantasy nationalizes it as a par 4. But I like back 9 players tomorrow for Pebble Beach. Again, all other things in a vacuum. I think if you're going to be using somebody from Pebble Beach, they need to be playing the 10th, or teeing off on the 10th as opposed to the 1st. Now let's look at Spyglass. And Spyglass has been the toughest course historically and here this week. So again, looks like hole 9 is a par 4 and hole 18 is a par 4 from Spyglass. So again, just kind of looking at the turn here, 8, quarter of a shot over par. The 9th, a 10th of a shot over par. The 10th is a 10th of a shot over par. That's not a very good, that's not leading itself to a lot of good opportunities there. Let's see, the 17th is playing easy, or historically plays easy. Now the 18th is a 10th of a shot over par, so it's not great by any means, but the 1st is under par, and the 2nd plays to 300ths, or almost basically right at par. So for Spyglass, it looks like you want to focus on players who are teeing off on the back 9 to start their round as well. That is the way I am seeing it. So when we move to Microsoft Excel here, I've gathered as many stats as I think is going to be useful. I gathered the the golfer, the salary, their tee time, which again the earliest tee time is 7:30. Bo Hostler, Ben Crane, a few others over here, and then I've brought in where they are teeing off. So Aaron Baddeley is teeing off at 9:09, Spyglass 1. Adam Long is 7:52, Spyglass 1, Spyglass 10, Monterey Peninsula 10, etc., etc. And then I've brought in their performance coming into the tournament in wind for 2022, their strokes gained around the green, just in total, their POA putting, and I did not use the fast filter. And the reason I didn't add the fast filter for their career POA putting to bring in tonight is that with the wind as forecasted, 20 mile an hour sustained, 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts, I could really see them slowing the greens down. That way guys can at least place their ball after cleaning it on the green. So I didn't want to do just fast POA. So this is POA no matter what speed, and yes, that includes lightning, which I know it won't be tomorrow. But I didn't want to just look at fast POA. I could have done average and fast POA, but I just went ahead and grabbed all POA putting, and then scrambling from 2022 forward. That is also using the wind as well. And then these are their ranks so far this week, or their performance so far this week. So let me sort on the salary, and let's kind of run through this a little bit. And you'll see some players don't have any statistics because they'll be playing Pebble Beach tomorrow. So they don't have any strokes gained statistics to analyze. Pebble Beach is the only course that has shot link. So if they haven't played Pebble Beach yet, there's nothing to analyze other than their scrambling. So we can look at their historical scrambling versus what they've done this week. That's about it for the guys that are playing at Pebble Beach. Otherwise, we might be able to do a little bit with POA, putting, and whatnot. Not going to be able to do too much, though, again, with only one round, maybe even zero on some of these players. We don't know how they've been doing putting. And with no placement points that matter, we're just trying to find the players who are going to shoot the lowest scores tomorrow. And there's not going to be a lot of low scores tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be a lot of low scores. That's why I was really high on Keith Mitchell coming in. And that's why he's doing really well, because I thought the course was going to be difficult. Last thing that I want to show you all, hopefully this is, you're able to see this. If it's a little tiny, let me know and I will zoom in even more. But this is the scoring at each of the courses for each round. So Monterey played more than one full shot easier in round one. Pebble also in round one played more than a full shot easier. Spyglass was more than a half a shot harder. And then today, Spyglass was more than a full shot harder. Pebble was very hard today, but Monterey actually played easier today. So, as you can see, again, all things in a vacuum, I am wanting to try and target players that are teeing off as early as possible at Monterey. Monterey is just the easiest course. Plain and simple. That's not to say that somebody at Pebble won't be useful, maybe even Spyglass, even though Spyglass is definitely the hardest. It doesn't mean somebody at Spyglass isn't usable, but that course has been the hardest. It's supposed to be windy tomorrow, just to get an idea of how these courses have played. So let's go through here, and I've also brought in their wind as well. So you can see somebody like Andrew Putnam generally plays well in the wind. He is at Spyglass, so maybe that cancels out a little bit. But we go through here, and every single one of the most expensive players, I mean, everybody that's 10K and Matt Fitzpatrick at 99 is at Pebble Beach tomorrow. So we don't have anything in regards to their performance so far versus their career norms. We don't know their iron play, their around the green. All we know is they're scrambling. And it looks like Maverick McNeely has been much, much better scrambling this week than in his career. So, you know, he is the number one putter on POA. Just flat out POA, not just fast POA, of the players in the tournament. So perhaps he's been putting the daylights out. Maybe his around the green, which he normally isn't very good. Maybe he's just been very good around the green this week. We don't know. But he has overperformed his scrambling. Matt Fitzpatrick is normally the best scrambler in this field. He has been atrocious, 88th in scrambling this week. So that is something perhaps to think about. But I do want to perhaps give some attention to Monterey and Spyglass, the starts. So Pebble Beach 10 and Spyglass Hill 10 have some pretty big advantages. So let me, there we go, that's what I wanted. I want Pebble Beach 10, Spyglass 10. And I'm going to put all of these in a light shade of blue, as these players have a decent little advantage. Gosh dang it. Have a decent little advantage in terms of perhaps better chances at birdie streaks. Three birdies in a row or better. So I wanted to make that notation. And then again, generally speaking, the earlier the tee time, the better. So we go through here, and let's try and figure out perhaps some players that might be overperforming or whatnot. And to do that, it's going to be really hard to assess putting because not everybody has putting. So I think that the one thing that we can do is look at scrambling difference. And who has scrambled better here this week versus their career norm. So with that, I want, let's see, he's been 30 worse. So I want H minus into, meaning he's been 30 worse. Okay. Let's see, he's not, no, gosh dang it, no stats for him either. No stats there. No stat. No stat. No stat. JB Holmes doesn't have a stat. So apologies as I get all of this squared away. All right. So now let's sort on the scrambling. And I want to sort on that largest to smallest. These players have been much better scrambling than what they have been historically. So I want to denote them here and there. That one to 10 and there. And then green 10 to 25 would be that. To 50 is that. So here are the players that have traditionally been very good scramblers and they're just not scrambling well this week. And now I'll resort on the salary. Okay, so anybody in green we want to kind of probably take a look at? Somebody like Jordan Spieth, who's generally a very good scrambler, very good putter on POA, very good in the wind. He has not been scrambling very well. So right off the bat, even though he is on Pebble Beach 1, and that is a little bit of a disadvantage it seems, I do think Jordan Spieth looks like he would be somebody to probably focus on for tomorrow. Pebble Beach has played a little bit under par so far. I imagine it's going to be pretty difficult tomorrow, but I don't think it's going to be as difficult as, say, Spyglass. Let's see, like McNeely, normally the #1 putter, you always like that, but he is normally not a very good scrambler. He has been this week, so I'm a little hesitant on Mav McNeely. You see all these elite performances here from Fitzpatrick. He's played okay. I think he's, -2 or so? So apparently the neck isn't bothering him terribly. Somebody like Seamus Power, who is at Pebble Beach with an early tee time. I like that a lot. See, the issue with Jordan Spieth is he's got a very late tee time. Somebody like Seamus Power looks very strong to me. He has not been scrambling to his usual prowess. He has got an early tee time. He is on the favorable side of Pebble Beach. I like Seamus Power tomorrow. Someone like Thomas Detry might be a little bit more difficult to assess. He's had one POA tournament putting. In fact, let me bring up last week's Farmers, and we can just see a sense for some of these players who don't have POA stats, at least for one tournament, what they did. So Detry, he lost, one stroke on the greens for the Farmers. Is that a reason to completely knock him? No, it was one tournament. It could have been a bad tournament. We know how I feel about putting in general. He does have a very early tee time. Yeah, I mean, he's with Seamus Power, so he's got a very good tee time. He's been the best scrambler this week. He's 12 for 13, I believe, but he's generally a decent scrambler. Like, I don't think I mind Thomas Detry. I'm probably not going to bold him and say he's probably core, but I don't hate it. I overlooked Tom Hoagie. He's got a early-ish tee time. I believe 8:36 is the middle or the median tee time. So he's on the early side. You do like that. He is very good in the wind. He is generally a little bit better scrambler than what he has shown. I don't think I hate Tom Hoge, especially since he's at Monterey. I don't know if I would make him core, but I don't hate it. Now, somebody like Justin Rose, I don't think I want any part of, even though he is at Monterey. Because you see, I mean, he's been okay in the wind, but he is generally not a very good around the green player. He's just not. And he's been 4th this week, and his putting has been very bad. And that's what's leading to his scrambling. Normally, he's not a very good scrambler. But he's been 4th this week in scrambling. He's overperformed it drastically. The one thing saving Justin Rose is the fact that he's at Monterey. But I'm a little cautious about Justin Rose. The irons have been good. I won't take that away from him. He was the 22nd best player so far when he played Pebble, but he also played Pebble when it was easy. He didn't play it today. He played it yesterday when it played easy. So I've got some concerns on Justin Rose. I really do. Now we look at Denny McCarthy. We know about his putting prowess. He's only 15th this week on the greens at Pebble Beach. His tee time is not the best. It's 9:09, but he's good in the wind. He's a short game type player, which is probably what is going to be needed tomorrow. I like Denny McCarthy tomorrow, especially since he's normally the 2nd best scrambler in this field, and he's been 2nd, so he's not drastically overperforming it. The irons are generally his weak spot, so he's just basically played like Denny McCarthy. And he's on the easy course tomorrow, so I don't hate that at all. Let's see. Joel Damon, a good tee time, not the best in terms of starting at Pebble Beach, and he's just, again, like, he's been bad in the wind. He's not a very good polo putter. Now he is slightly underperformed scrambling, but he's generally pretty bad at scrambling anyway, so I'm just not there with Damon. I know he had a good day today, but I'm just not there with Damon. Kuchar, normally the 3rd best scrambler. He's been okay, but nothing great. His tee time is atrocious. That's, I think, the 2nd to last time, 9:30. I think there's a 9:42, 9:46, something to that effect. I think. Yeah, 9:42. So Kuchar has the 2nd to last tee time. That's not good. He's going to hit a lot of that wind. He is the #1 wind player for what it's worth, but I don't care how good you are in the wind. That is a lot of wind to have to deal with. So, I mean, for that reason alone, I almost have to put him in orange. Burmester, again, he's good in the wind, but the worst tee time. He's at 9:42. He's he is the last group to tee off on the back 9 at Pebble. I don't like that. I'm going to do some filters here. First off, let's do some early tee time. Again, the median is at 8:36. So I'll include the median tee times, but these are the ones that have kind of the advantage, if you will, especially the earliest of early. So we've went through these so far. Let's see, some others here who have drastically underperformed. Scott Stallings, generally a decent-ish scrambler. He's been 15th in iron play, 9th around the green. He'll be playing the easiest course tomorrow in the wind. There's a lot to like there with Scott Stallings. A whole lot to like with Scott Stallings. So I think you need to think long and hard about making him part of your core. Lipsky, he's at Monterey, but it's the median tee time. See, Taylor Pendrith, I was pretty off on coming into the week. He's played okay. He is good in the wind, and he's got the earliest tee time. However, he's been scrambling a lot better than what he normally does. It's the tee time that you're focused on if you're wanting to look at Taylor Pendrith. So I'm going to do the same thing what I did with the course. I'm going to highlight anybody who has a tee time before 8, because they have a pretty significant advantage, as it looks like they're going to miss some of the wind. Everybody's going to have to deal with wind tomorrow. There's no getting around that. Everybody's going to have to deal with wind, but these guys look like they are going to be able to play a few holes, without some wind. So take a look at someone like Bo Hostler. Yes, he is on the hardest course tomorrow, but he has a very early tee time. He is generally a very good scrambler. He's been 3rd around the green so far this week. I don't hate Bo Hostler. I do not like the fact that he's at Spyglass. So I'm not going to make him core. I will say probably green, because he's not terrible in the wind. Actually, I'm going to downgrade that a little bit. He's probably there. A good tee time. He's got the better part of the Spyglass course, but he's middling in the wind. His putting, normally pretty decent. He was not today. So, let's see. Some others that might have both going for them. Again, Streelman and Webb Simpson, they're actually paired together. Again, kind of the same thing here. The second group off of the back 9 at Spyglass, both of them are okay in the wind, better than Bo Hostler. They're both okay in the wind. Webb Simpson's generally a very good POA putter, and he was today at Pebble. Now, Streelman's not a very good putter, so he overperformed his putting drastically. He's generally better around the green. He wasn't today, so, I mean, it's a very light, very light take a look on those two. I'm trying to find more Monterey guys, and I remember that they're not going to be highlighted because they didn't have a favor. Somebody like Grayson Sigg, I mean, yes, he's not early, but his irons were very good the first day at Pebble. He putt well at Pebble. Generally not a very good putter, so it could be just a good putting week for him. Again, I don't know if I'm going to make him core, but I like seeing what I see here from Grayson Sigg. All of these players, look here, all of these players need to probably have a lot of consideration, considering they're on the easiest course and a very early tee time. Maybe not Russell Knox. I mean, yes, he has generally played this event well, but I mean, just going by the metrics, he is not very good in the wind. He's scrambled better than usual. I mean, just because he's on the easiest course and he has one of the best tee times, you kind of have to consider him, but I still am pretty shaky on Russell Knox. Whereas somebody like Taylor Moore, Will Gordon, Even a little bit of Trey Mullinax. Will Gordon and Trey Mullinax good in the wind. That's really all that's going for Mullinax except for these two factors here. He was not good the first day at Pebble Beach, but he did putt well, and he's normally not a good putter on POA. He actually might be a little bit of an orange if he putts so well and still was really bad at Pebble. Maybe not. Let's see. Taylor Moore generally not good in the wind, but he has played well this week. Generally really good at POA putting, and he was terrible the first day on POA. So I think these two probably warrant consideration. Nothing stand out there. Matthew Neesmith. Again, good in the wind. He's not a short game type player. His irons are not this bad. So I like Matthew Neesmith quite a bit. Jimmy Walker's just not been a good wind player. If you want to go with wind, take a look at Scott Piercy. Probably not that high. Maybe here. Take a look at Scott Piercy. Third in the wind. He was very good at Pebble today. 17th in scrambling. So he's overperforming a little bit in scrambling. A lot of that probably here with the putting. But with it being so windy, you probably have to take a look at Scott Piercy. Let's see. Other players that are good in the wind. Brandon Wu. He's been slightly overperforming the scrambling, so I don't know. Maybe you could take a look here. Don't hate it, I guess. Luke Donald, number one around the green. He's been the best around the green player of the 2 days of the players at Pebble. He's generally a better iron player than this. He's on the easiest course and one of the best tee times. Like, that looks like Luke Donald might be part of the core. Especially since he's got the best tee time, the earliest, at the easiest course. He's okay in the wind. He was the 9th best player at Pebble Beach across the 2 days. I mean, he's overperformed his scrambling, but not by a bunch. He's been right in his career norm with POA putting. I kind of like Luke Donald tomorrow. Somebody I was very, very wrong about this week has been Troy Merritt. He has played awful. Probably a lot to do with that. He's not very good in the wind. But he has not scrambled well. And a lot of that's probably around putting. I imagine he has not putt well. So I'm a little shy about that one. See, anybody else here in the 6Ks that has just got an amazing amount of stuff here? I was going to say Nate Lashley. The tee time is okay. He is at Monterey. He's good in the wind, but there's the problem. He is not a very good scrambler. A lot of that's probably because he's middling around the green, and he's been very bad around the green. In the measured round at Pebble Beach on the first day, he was very bad around the green. I really want to like Nate Lashley, but I don't know if I can get there. No, and Lauer. Let's see, Lauer, decent in the wind. Decent enough in scrambling. Like, look here, saying you'll know. He was the number one putter He's been the best putter at Pebble Beach of the 2 rounds. And look at his career POA putting. So that right there, even though I have a top 20 wager on him, just can't get there. He's drastically overperformed his POA putting. He's been good around the green in his career, sure. But I just can't get there with that. See, it's really hard for some of these guys, like the players at Pebble Beach, because they just don't have a lot of stats, or they don't have any stats for this week. Chesson Hadley, but he's just not good in the wind. Let's see, others down here that might be okay in the wind. Trevor Cone, but he's on Spyglass. Did he play last week's Farmers? He did. He lost 1.5 strokes on the greens. Again, it's not the be all end all, but that is not very good. That's really the only data we have to go on. Bill Hawes, normally the 3rd best scrambler, because he's generally very good around the green. He was not when he played Pebble Beach day 1. So Bill Hawes might be somewhat interesting, maybe. Because he's decent in the wind. He's generally a very good around the green player. He's on the easiest course tomorrow. But other than that, it's about what I see in terms of the early tee times. Don't think I want to go down too far into here. So if we bring this back, and let's look at just Monterey, see what we can glean from some of these players. Again, like Ben Griffin's that's a terrible tee time. Second to last. Yes, he's good in the wind, but it's the same thing with kind of like Matt Kuchar. How was his POA putting last week? Ben Griffin lost lost 1 full stroke, so I mean it's not great, but certainly doesn't give me a lot of confidence, or it makes me believe in that number a lot more. Generally not great around the green. He's kind of middling. He was very good in day 1. So all of these players here that are playing Monterey tomorrow, they played Pebble day 1. I just don't like that tee time at all for Ben Griffin. Nick Hardy, generally he's okay on POA. He was atrocious on day 1. Like everything else was very, very good that day. But he's generally not a good around the green player either. So, not in love with that. Let's see, Ryan Armour, Callum Tarrant, both very good players in the wind. Armour's generally a very good scrambler. His irons were very good that day, yesterday, but nothing else was. Okay, all right, maybe a little bit of Ryan Armour, maybe. Callum Tarrant was basically right in line with his POA putting. His irons were also very good on on Thursday yesterday. I could see maybe some Callum Tarrant, but he has the last tee time of the day, so not in love with that. Kevin Hughes generally pretty good in the wind. He was very good at Pebble. Around the green, okay. Putting was right in line. What would scare me off of Kevin Yu is this atrocious tee time. It's the last one. But if you believe in the fact that he's good in the wind, and it's a very limited number of rounds, but if you believe in that, he might be worth a gamble. Because I don't know how many people are going to gravitate to Kevin Yu. So he's probably going to be pretty unique. That'd be my guess. We looked at the majority of these other players here. Okay. Let's move to Pebble. See what we can gather for these guys. Like again, Spieth and Hovland, they have just terrible tee times. And I'd much prefer to have somebody on the back nine for 18, 1 and 2. But McNeely has drastically overperformed his scrambling. Burtmaster is kind of interesting because he's generally good in the wind. I imagine he's probably used to conditions like this, so Dean Burtmaster might be worth a look. Especially since he is on the favorable side of Pebble Beach. Again, like Smalley and Pendrith, Bramlett, these guys have overperformed their scrambling. And they're generally not good at it. So, Pendrith's interesting because he has the great tee time. And he's generally good in the wind. Like I would say he's probably worthy of a consideration. Brendan Todd. Now, I hate this tee time, but everything else I like, so I'm going to put him with Taylor Pendrith in the same sense that really the thing that's pulling Pendrith together is his performance in the wind and the tee time, whereas Brendan Todd has the course, the wind, the scrambling, but he doesn't have the tee time. Hey, James. Good evening. I'll show you those here after a little while. They've got a lot of potential. I'm cashing 4 or 5 lineups right now, but I'm doing okay. I've got the cut line isn't established because it's a 3-day tournament. So they'll be playing. They'll be establishing that tomorrow. Honestly, I really do think it's going to back up. It's probably going to be even or +1 because of this. That is the wind forecast for tomorrow. Awful. The first tee time's at 7:30, and they're dealing with gusty winds. Not necessarily sustained, but gusty winds. But from the moment players tee off, they're dealing with a decent amount of sustained winds and gusts that are going to continue to rise. 7:30 is the earliest tee time. 9:42 is the last. But with these being, with amateurs involved, these are going to be 5-hour rounds. So it's not going to be a surprise to see players pushed into the 3 to 4 o'clock. And look at 4 o'clock, you're looking at 40-mile-an-hour gusts. So yeah, we are focusing on just round 3 showdown tonight. But that's why I've been going through each course. It's really, really tough because some guys have a great tee time, like teeing off early, but they've drastically overperformed their scrambling. And the players who are teeing off or playing Pebble Beach tomorrow, they don't have stats for the tournament because they've played Spyglass, they played Monterey. Neither of those courses have ShotLink. So there's no stats to gather their approach around the green and the putting. All we can do is look at their scrambling. So it's kind of hard in that regard. See, like somebody like Kevin Kisner, I know he has not played well at all. He's generally good in the wind. He's very good POA putter. Like, everything says that should be a decent play, I would think. But he hadn't played well. Mark Hubbard a little bit to the same extent. But he's not as good around the green. He's not as good at scrambling. And he's drastically overperformed it. So, makes me a little more hesitant on Mark Hubbard. But everybody else that's playing Pebble Beach tomorrow is either very, very bad in the wind, or just doesn't have a great tee time. Take that back. Peter Malnati kind of seems interesting. And again, I was very high on Peter Malnati coming into the week. So Malnati seems interesting because he's pretty good in the wind. He's a very good POA putter. And he's actually underperformed his scrambling per usual. Like, the more I look at that, the more he might be core. Which makes me excited, because I used a lot of Peter Malnati. But, I mean, just being objective, he's got a decent tee time. He's good in the wind. You prefer players that are playing Pebble Beach on the back, or starting Pebble Beach on the back nine to hit that 18, 1, and 2 potential birdie streak. I don't hate it. Like, as much as I was high on Troy Merritt, like, he's played awful, and we don't have the stats to see whether it's been his irons or if he's just been bad on POA this week or what. So I'm a little cautious on Troy Merritt, but he's got a great tee time and he's got a good course draw. So, I mean, this says he should be good tomorrow. But the way he's played inspires no confidence at all. None. Everything else here, like Zach Blair, I mean, you look at the wind performance, no thank you. James Hahn, he's good in the wind, but he's got a terrible tee time. No thank you. So I think that's about it for Pebble, really. And if we look at Spyglass, again, this is the hardest course, so you don't want to go too much into Spyglass. But at the same time, I mean, this is probably going to be where your uniqueness comes in for your showdowns. So, I mean, like I said, I don't hate Beau Hossler. He's not great in the wind, but he was very good around the green, and he drastically underperformed his putting at Pebble Beach today. So I don't hate that. Like Nick Taylor, he's got the right side of the draw, but a terrible tee time. S.H. Kim, okay, he might be interesting. What did he do at the Farmers on those POA greens? S.H. Kim, he was essentially field average. Again, it's one tournament. You don't want to put a whole lot of weight into it. He was 31st out of 102 so far. Probably overperformed it a little bit, but you know, with the early tee time, he's good enough in the wind. Yeah, kind of like S.H. Kim a little bit for tomorrow. Like, Baddeley is generally really, really good on POA. He was not today. He's decent enough in the wind, but that is a terrible tee time. Piercy, because of the wind, he overperformed his putting a lot. Others that look like they've maybe underperformed. Eric Barnes. Again, that's a terrible tee time. He's good around the green. He was terrible around the green today. He was the 8th best putter on POA. Like, I don't want to stay away from that. Let's look at some of these players that are generally good in the wind. Adam Long, what's he got going on here? Generally 12th. He's got a good tee time. You would prefer him to be on Spyglass, teeing off on 10. But he's generally good on POA. He was He's been good on POA, or his round today was good on POA. He's quite a bit better around the green. But nothing here screams that it's out of line. Again, with him being on Spyglass, I'd be cautious, but you could probably take a look at Adam Long. Dylan Wu, he's got the tee time, he's got the preferred side of the course, but God, he is terrible in the wind generally. He's drastically overperformed his scrambling. It's kind of what you're dealing with here this week for round 3 showdown. I mean, as much as he's played well this week, I don't want anything to do with Hankley Biota. I think he comes crashing back down to earth a little bit. Things say that Michael Kim probably should be good, but do I really want to suggest to you to use Michael Kim? Not really. It's Michael Kim. Ugh. So let's back this out, see what all we have to look at. I think in terms of round 3 showdown, I really like Seamus Power. He's at Pebble Beach, which has been, it's going to probably play a little bit over par, but it's not as difficult as Spyglass. He's underperformed his scrambling. He's a decent enough POA putter. He's good in the wind. I really like Seamus Power tomorrow. Tom Hoagie, simply for the fact he's at the easiest course. He's number 2 in the wind. He's at the easiest course. So sure. I know I have Spieth up here in core. The more I think about it, 909 is such a bad tee time, but his game should suit dealing with all the wind. So I don't hate it. Scott Stallings looks like an absolute must. At the easiest course and early tee time, he's good in the wind. He has drastically underperformed his scrambling because, well, generally he's a bad POA putter, so that probably makes some sense. But the irons have been there. I really like Scott Stallings, so let's see what kind of lineup we have going on here. If we use Jordan Spieth, Seamus, and Scott Stallings. Okay, so we're at 7,300 per player. That's not terrible. We can work with that. I talked about Luke Donald and Peter Malnati. Luke Donald's got the best tee time on the easiest course. There's a lot to like there. Peter Malnati is all about the POA putting. Pretty good in the wind. Now he is playing Pebble Beach, which is going to be harder than Monterey. If you're willing to come down into the 6Ks, I'm going to probably say Luke Donald just because it's the easier course. But I don't think I have any issue with you using Peter Malnati. And you probably don't even have to come down into the 6Ks, to be honest with you. Ryan Armour here, it's a terrible, terrible tee time, but he's on the easiest course. He's good in the wind. He's generally a very good scrambler, and he hasn't been this week. He's generally okay at POA. I don't hate Ryan Armour. Brandon Wu has a good tee time. He's been very, very good in the wind. He's only slightly overperformed his scrambling in his career. Matthew Neesmith, for that matter. Matthew Neesmith seems like he'd be pretty good here. So what's that leave? 78. That's Bo Hostler. If you want to combine the good tee time and the best side of the Spyglass course, I don't love it, but at least he does have Spyglass early. And he's not terrible in the wind. He's not great, but he's not terrible. Kind of like Grayson Sig here. Taylor Moore's got a fantastic tee time on the easy course. I'm going to go with Grayson Sig just because he's played better this week. I mean, there's a look at a potential lineup for you. I think Tom Hoagie's should be pretty good tomorrow. Again, easiest course, a front half or first half of the draw tee time. I think he'll be fine. For as much as I thought I was overrating Denny McCarthy, like he's played well, it's a terrible tee time, but he's good in the wind. Like I think Denny McCarthy might be all right. Again, I'm just going to put Scott Stallings because he looks like he has to be core. Everything's just lining up for him. An early tee time, very good in the wind, on the easiest course, drastically underperforming his scrambling. Like everything's lining up for Scott Stallings. I don't hate S.H. Kim for that matter. We still have 7,600 per player. You can take, I don't know, take your pick here. Brennan Todd, if you're not too concerned about the tee time because it's the next to last, but I mean everything says his game should be able to handle it. So maybe you go like Brendan Todd, 7,400 is Neesmith. We used him in the last lineup, so maybe Brandon Wu playing for the Wind in Pebble Beach on a decent tee time. Mark Hubbard, maybe, although he has drastically overperformed his scrambling. I'll throw in Brandon Wu. So there's another lineup there that, you know, probably pretty competitive. If you all have any questions in chat, feel free, just throw them out. Or you want to look at any particular players. This is definitely not going to be... I'm probably going to be the least confident, like I was at the American Express, just because we don't have stats for all the rounds. So, you know, I can give you my take on what I see, but I won't be as confident as I was, say, last week at the Farmers or the Sony or whatnot. Let's see. Maybe throw. Well, I don't know. That's an awful tee time, and he has drastically overperformed his scrambling. But it seemed, I think Burmester would probably enjoy these conditions. So, if you want to go really, really crazy, I don't think I'd go much lower than. I don't think I'd go lower than Kevin Yu unless you're going to do like a Bill Haas, try to fit in two studs. Like Sabatini, yes, he has been very bad. He's been very bad with the scrambling, but he's on the difficult course. A late tee time, yes, he's fine in the wind, but I mean, look what he did today at Pebble. It was not good. So, not really inspiring a lot of confidence there. So, like, I guess Bill Haas might be okay because he's on the easiest course. He's good in the wind. He's very good around the green, which is what's going to need to happen. So I could see you perhaps gravitating towards Bill Haas, but really I wouldn't go any lower than Kevin Yu. Not really. Yeah, let's try a Kevin Yu. Maybe we can try to squeeze in a a stars and scrubsy kind of look here. So if we go Kevin Yu, we'll probably have to do something like Callum Tarrant as well at 7,000. Good in the wind. His irons have been there. He's generally not a good POA putter anyway, so I'm not terribly concerned with that. Again, it's just mainly about the irons. He's been a good around the green player. He wasn't on day one, so I think that would improve. Like, I don't hate Callum Tarrant. The only issue is he's got the worst tee time, but he's on the easy course, so take the good and the bad. I don't think I mind Callum Tarrant. So if we do that, you know, I'm concerned with Victor Hovland. Yes, he's very good in the wind. He's generally a good POA putter. Well, I tell you what, I mean, if I'm very high on Spieth, I need to at least highlight Hovland too, I guess, because he's played better than Spieth has. So, like, if we're trying to do like a Victor Hovland, I don't think we'll be able to fit Jordan Spieth. I can try. Oh yeah, we can do that. So 7,700 per. I know we've used Stallings in both of these lineups. Stallings probably fits into this lineup, but just for the sake of using some different names, maybe you want to take a gamble on Taylor Pendrith. Again, the best tee time, very good in the wind. He has drastically overperformed his scrambling, but maybe he's just got a good putting week going. I'd be willing to perhaps take a look at Taylor Pendrith. And then at 75, it's kind of the same kind of deal here. You know, Kevin Kisner should be okay. I really like Neesmith tomorrow. Brandon Wu makes some sense. Mark Hubbard. I'm going to throw in Matthew Neesmith. But there's a stars and scrubs kind of look to a team with Victor Hovland and Jordan Spieth. And then mix and match however you wish. I don't mind Kevin Yu. I really like Matthew Neesmith. Me personally, I wouldn't go Taylor Pendrith, but I can understand why you would because of the usual wind performance. Let's do one more. See if we can't make a balanced, and then, you know, if anybody has any last minute questions or whatever. Like I'm just out of the corner of my eye, I see Lonto Griffin. He's got the median tee time, so right in the middle of the draw. He's generally good in the wind, but he's drastically overperformed his scrambling. But how's that any different than, say, Taylor Pendrith, who's good in the wind? Pendrith has the best tee time. That is a difference, to be fair. But like Lonto Griffin probably deserves at least a look. If we're gonna make a balanced lineup, I think we're gonna start with Seamus. We'll go Seamus and then maybe Denny McCarthy for the Monterey angle. Again, Scott Stallings kind of just has to be in this one. And we're at 7,800. Looking for more players at Monterey. I talked about Ben Griffin earlier. I mean, he's good in the wind, but that is an awful tee time. Maybe that doesn't scare you off. He is on the easiest course, but he was really bad at Pebble Beach the first day. Really bad. He's generally not a great around the green player. He was very good around the green that day. I don't know. Maybe. Lipsky, a lot better tee time. Not as good in the wind, but he's okay. He's drastically overperformed his scrambling. He's been right at his career norm with around the green. The irons have been okay. Maybe David Lipsky. Maybe you throw in a David Lipsky with this. 7650. Let's do, well, let's see. He's Pebble Beach, but that's Monterey. That's Monterey. That's Monterey. Let's just try to do as much Monterey as we can, I think. So maybe a Taylor Moore. Oh shoot, we can do both. So Grayson Sigg and Taylor Moore. A very balanced look to a lineup, I think would work. Again, Seamus Powers at Pebble Beach, but you know the focus on Monterey since it's the easiest course by far. There's 4 lineups. Not sure how many more we're wanting to look at. Like Fitzpatrick to me seems okay. It's just this tee time is atrocious. It's really bad. Like McNeely, I'm off on McNeely because he's drastically overperformed his scrambling. He's generally not a good scrambler, but he's #1 POA putter. So maybe you want to believe in Mav McNeely. Neither of them are at Monterey, but they're at Pebble Beach. It's not like a spyglass. If you want to believe in Thomas Detry, maybe it's a very good tee time. So maybe another lineup could be a Tom Hoagie, a Seamus Power, a Thomas Detry kind of deal. Probably jumping into the low 6s, or excuse me, the 6Ks or low 7s. I'm going to throw in Malnati in the lineup. I really like Malnati. And you got this same 7,500 that we've been hovering around all night, seemingly. I'll probably go Neesmith and 77's Grayson Sigg, Taylor Moore. I'll throw in Lonto Griffin. It's a different name. But there's another... I don't want to call it a balanced look, but, something to the effect similar like the first lineup we made. Instead of going Spieth and Power, you're going Hoagie, Power, Detry, and then dropping into the 7s and in the 1.6K at 6.9. Don't hate that. There's a look at some lineups for your round 3 showdown. I'll stick around for a couple of minutes if there's any other questions. But all other things being equal, if you're ever debating between players for tomorrow's round 3 showdown, target the early tee time at Monterey. Again, everything else being equal. Just because a player is teeing off at Monterey at 7:30 doesn't make him an automatic play. I mean, you've got some of these players down here, like Tom Johnson, 7:30 at Monterey. If you want to take a gander at Tom Johnson, that's fine by me. I'm not going to recommend it. But all other things being equal, target the early tee times and target Monterey. So that's what I have for you for round 3 showdown. Thanks to Joey and P for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Oh, I need to show you how my lineups are doing before I go. So let me do that. Let me bring that up over here. So I'll zoom in. These are the 16 lineups that I submitted this week. The players that I used and the number of lineups they're in. Anybody in black is just guys that were in my top X. I just didn't happen to use. Like, this is Matt Fitzpatrick. And that is Cameron Percy, who withdrew. But you can see Justin Suh has already withdrawn, so he was in 2 of my lineups. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty good about my lineups here. Let me pull up the leaderboard. I don't have a lot of Keith Mitchell, which, you know, I might be regretting, because since I talked him up so much. But you see, like Joseph Bramlett, I have in half of my lineups. I know I didn't talk about him much, but I've got him in 8 of the 16 lineups, and he's sitting T2. And Bramlett is Joseph Bramlett is not very widely owned, I don't think. I'd have to filter. Let's see. I know it's a small view. Joseph Bramlett. Well, shit, I meant to... 9%. So, more than I thought, but, you know, I've got him in half the lineups. And honestly, the biggest thing that I can worry about for me right now, the second and first best lineups through 2 days that I generated, I'm using. My team 19 and my team 21. You see 286 points. It's the best lineup that I generated. I'm using it. I'm using the second best. I mean, granted, I'm using some real clunkers. My 97th out of 100. You know, I chose that one. So, I mean, there are some things that I got wrong, clearly. I'm using the worst lineup. 29, because it had... that can't be right. Percy? Really? That sucks. So, Percy, all these others are, you know, middling. But at the end of the week, if I've used my first and my second best lineup that I generated in terms of points, I'll be happy. Use them. So, shoot. Wrong thing. Like Grayson Sig, I've got, 7 times. He made a decent move today. He is, last I saw, he was -5. Yeah, he's tied for 22nd. So I'm not hating that at all. I've got him 7 times. I've used Peter Malnati 7 times. He's like 3% owned. He's only -3, but you know, you have another day of -1 or -2 like Peter Malnati has had. Go into Sunday with the -5 at tied for 30th and 2% owned. I will take that all day long. Neesmith's playing well. As much as I poo-pooed McCarthy, I have him twice. So I've got potential here. I've got potential here. Fortunately, I used the same idea with Troy Merritt that I did with Bo Hostler. Since I have a win bet on Troy Merritt, I did not throw him into any DFS lineups. And that's saving me right now, even though I was pretty high on him. But really, I don't think I've gotten anything terribly wrong. I don't think. I'm going through the bottom of the leaderboard here. Lipsky's been really bad, but he was really chalky. Where's Lipsky? I thought Lipsky was going to be really chalky. I don't think he ended up being that much. Yeah, only 9%. So that's kind of hurting me, I'm sure. How much did I use Lipsky? Yeah, 10 of the 16. So that's hurting me. He's +2. But really, everything else, I feel like I've been okay on. Like I said, I was really high on Keith Mitchell. He's playing well. Joseph Bramlett. Seamus Power. I have Seamus Power 6 times. I didn't realize he made as big of a move as he did today. So, yeah. A lot of potential. Like I said, the lineups are at the bottom end of cashing. So, they've got work to do. But I got potential. I'm not out of it. So, I like my chances. Oh, gosh. I just looked. Peter Malnati's -6. Actually making me look smart. Yeah. All right. I'll leave you off with the round 3 showdown look again and the 5 lineups that we've made. Thanks again to everybody who tuned in and watched. I appreciate it. Joey and James for jumping in chat there. In the comments of the video or social media, reach out to me. Let me know how your round 3 showdown goes. Would love to hear about it. And let me know how your full week contests go. That way I'm able to shout you out next week when we look at the waste management and the first full field premier event on the PGA Tour this year. Thanks to Liv, the PGA Tour has made some premier events, and the waste management is the first one of those with a $20 million guaranteed purse. So all of the big names will be there next week. So it'll be a good time. So for all of the lineups that you decide to play for tomorrow's round 3 showdown, for all the lineups you've already submitted, for the week-long contests, for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, for all of your wagers, and until I see you Sunday for the initial research of the waste management, may all your bets be profitable. Until next time.